If you are a normal gacha gamer, which I know about 99% of you players are normal, then you actually will breathe in between newly released banners and think about your account and what characters you actually truly need to improve your teams with. Me personally, I'm stuck in between pulling from meta and pulling from my favorite characters on Zenless Zone Zero, which most of them happen to be meta, so I'm not really complaining in that factor. Now, maybe you are in the shoes of someone who just lost a 50-50 on a specific character, a character you wanted that is, and you were forced to skip, or maybe you just started Zenless Zone Zero late and you want a specific character that you really weren't around for. Whatever the case may be, my name is Mikey, and today I'll be going over if spending your hard-earned gacha currency on rerun banners is worth your time. So, let's jump right into the video. Now, the very first thing I feel is very important to discuss when thinking about summoning for rerun banners is actually the investment of the character itself. Now, a big topic on gacha games when it comes to building up characters and teams is the term power creep. But now, what exactly is power creep? Well, guys, power creep is essentially when you have a singular character. We could take Ellen, for example, since I'm going to be talking about her versus Miyabe more later in the video. But basically, how at the beginning of Zenless Zone Zero, Ellen was a very strong DPS unit that was available to summon for as the first limited banner character on this game. And also, just gonna mention that if you do have Ellen, it does not mean that she's a bad character, and you can still use her very well in endgame content and for really good teams. But now in recent patches, we now have the amazing Miyabe, who basically has her own type of ice attribute, and in my honest opinion, this is an example of power creep. Essentially, the amount of value you get from Miyabe would be greater and a better investment than pulling Ellen if you don't have either of the characters currently. This is just one of many examples on why you might not want to actually summon for Ellen as a rerun, or maybe because there will be a future character that is going to lead in the damage dealing field. And I don't mean to sound like the harbinger of bad news, but if I'm going to be quite honest, if you are new to gacha games, this is quite the normal. In most gacha games, as we head towards the game being out for longer periods of time, old units tend to get overshadowed by newer ones, and it could be quite disappointing for some players, but it is what it is. This is just a harsh reality. All in all, that is a prime example of power creep, is when a new character overshadows an old character, causing that character to become weaker and less valuable. And at the end of the day, you don't have to be meta hungry all the time. This is just a proper warning that you could just wait for another new character in that field that you might like better that is honestly meta. It would just take a lot more saving and a lot more resistance not wanting to be a gacha gambler. Hey, if you made it this far in this video, smash the subscribe button so you never miss a video. I appreciate you guys. Thanks. Okay, so as you guys may know, we just got the rerun with Ellen against the Astra Yao banner, which if I'm gonna be honest, I will say Astra Yao is like quite not skippable, and I truly stand by that statement. She's just a super strong support unit that also makes the combat at Zenless Zone Zero even more fun than it already is. It's quite amazing to me that they have a character that gives QOL features or quality of life features to the combat of the game in itself. Although we did get a sneak peek of that when it comes to Caesar King with their parrying abilities and mechanics. I fortunately was able to get Astra Yao, and I'm very happy the gacha gods didn't rain divine punishment on my account. And I'm personally waiting for that to happen because I've only lost 150-50 so far, and I ended up getting Miyabe in the first 30 pulls anyways. So I'm truly blessed with my account so far. But getting back on topic here, I really know the strengths of having an S tier support character on my team, which is essentially why I made it a ultimate goal to pull for Astra Yao. Which, that reminds me, we'll be having a Chingy rerun in the next phase of 1.5 of Zenless Zone Zero, which might be a character you want to keep on your radar. Now, when it really comes to choosing which rerun characters you are looking for, you should 100% consider the state of your account. Now, as I mentioned before, I fortunately have gotten lucky on my gacha summons thus far since I started my free-to-play account on Zenless Zone Zero, so I was able to obtain Astra Yao personally. And the reason why I did this is because although I really want another flashy DPS character like Evelyn, I thought it would make my account 10 times stronger to pull for Astra Yao instead and get a really solid support unit. So that way, when it comes to the endgame content game modes like Endless Tower and Shiyu Defense, I have a very solid support character to help my DPS characters and my hybrid characters do some work. Now, had I lost the 50-50 on the Astra Yao, I would be waiting for Caesar King rerun so I could get my hands on a very good support character. And this is an example of how I think when it comes to trying to make a successful free-to-play account. A very good thing to do is always prepare for the worst. Never assume you're gonna win that 50-50 on that banner, because at the end of the day, and the harsh reality of the game is, if you lose that 50-50, you most likely aren't getting that character, unless if you binge all your gacha currency into that banner, but sometimes that may be too risky. Now, if you do not have a capable stun character, I will say for me having Xingyi, she's an incredible unit and I would highly recommend her. However, we do have the S tier trigger coming out soon, which will be another electric unit that most players are excited for. So that's just something to keep in mind. Choosing between these two units will all come down to the state of your account by the end of the day and which direction you want to go. Of course, if you want to build Obo Squad type units, you might want to save up for trigger. But if you have PubSec units already like Zhiyuan, then maybe you want to get Shigi. As I was mentioning before for my account, getting Caesar King will never be a bad idea for a rerun option as well. And I will say this time and time again, we did talk about power creep in the last topic of this video, and I will be the first to say, when it comes to investing into non-DPS characters, and I mainly mean investing into support characters, they will be always better for the most part on the longevity of your account than a DPS character and has less of a chance of getting the power creep. Unless a rare occasion where we get a character like Miyabe, who absolutely is devastating, and it's probably because she is a Void Hunter. And that could possibly be a hint to maybe save up for the Void Hunters, because the Void Hunters are going to be OP as hell. It's kind of interesting to see how the developers are making it so that the Void Hunters are very strong, at least for what we saw with Miyabe. It's like they're trying to keep it lore accurate. But as I was saying, Miyabe is definitely a one-of-a-kind DPS unit on this game. So that's why I personally pulled her, and I actually got a duplicate of her, making her M1 for me personally. So what about characters like Ji-Yuan and Jane Doe? Well, these are DPS type of characters that don't really provide much support coverage to your team, other than the fact that they do damage. Maybe you want to consider getting duplicates of the characters since you already have an investment on them, or maybe you have the characters built really strong and they're worth actually summoning for. There's also the situation where you may have the character but not have the W engine, which in this case, maybe you want to cop the W engine so you can get that really cool hairstyle that glows. Nah, I'm just kidding. You know why you would get a W engine, so you can improve your character's stats. But the glow is a nice feature. You definitely want to consider your options though, to be for real when it comes to improving strengths of already obtained DPS characters. Now, what about Yanagi and Bernice? Well, in my opinion, I don't really categorize these characters with Ji-Yuan and Jane Doe for the main reason that Yanagi provides shock and Bernice provides burn, which is extra support value to your overall team composition, which is what I was talking about when I said invest in the support type coverage characters. So in my honest opinion, those characters might be worth looking into over the DPS characters like Ji-Yuan and Jane Doe. Also, disclaimer, I am not any type of guru when it comes to characters and which ones you should pull or you shouldn't pull. I'm just mostly trying to give you guys an overall thought when it comes to actually summoning these characters. Now, I also want to hear your guys' thoughts about what I am talking about. What are your opinions? What is your plan? Will you be summoning reruns? Also, did my view on this situation change your mind in any way? Let me know in the comment section down below. Speaking of which, one of the last things I want to cover is A-rank units and standard banner S tier units. A-rank units that you can have multiple duplicates of can really put in the work and get the job done. As well, let me remind you that if you obtain the free S tier DPS Harumasa, then you already have a decent S tier to start off with as well. There's a whole bunch of free-to-play routes you can go with this even without having the best units. It's just going to take some time testing out the field and what feels good for you. Also, what teams work for your account and what characters feels the best for you to use. You guys are all different, so I'm sure you will have your own opinions and what feels comfortable for you. So now I want to talk about how you can set yourself up in the future or currently, so that way you can avoid this power creep that all gacha gamers fear. Now, it is obvious that no matter what we do, we cannot change what characters come out and how powerful they become or are. From a consumer standpoint, if you are summoning to make your account stronger, just summoning based off the best waifu or husbando ever isn't going to be enough reasoning, especially for low spenders or free-to-play gacha gamers. So earlier, we went over most of the characters who are going to be due for a rerun in the next upcoming patches. Now, what I would recommend is always taking a look at support type coverage, as I did mention this in the last portion of this video. Looking for those specific units overall that support your main damage dealer, I would say is overall better investment for your summons. Like I was mentioning, Astro Yao and Caesar King are both highly recommended investments in my honest opinion, because they are really good support type of characters. Then you could also look for good stun characters like Qingyi and Lighter. Honestly, what I'm trying to get at is just reviewing your account overall and see what units you desperately need to make your account better overall. And you are gonna need support type of units eventually, so stop ignoring the facts of summoning for DPS strictly, or just get your skill up to the point where you don't need a really good support type of character, because that is possible if you get your combat skills right and you skill diff the enemies in the end game content. I would highly recommend looking at your team and filling in the roles one by one, then worrying about summoning whatever units you want. I actually want to know, do you guys have any summoning strategies, and what's your best team looking like right now? Let me know in the comment section down below, because I want to test some of those teams out myself. All in all, in my honest opinion, I don't think you should always skip out on rerun units, as they could be a good investment for the longevity of your account. Another thing you guys can also do is look at pridewin.gg, for example. They have a whole entire character tier list that you can reference off of. This is of course a good website to use if you simply do not have the time or you do not have the need to want to research characters on your own in training. It's a good place to research characters, teams, and rotations, and a whole bunch of other things that you may not even know about. If you want to take it the extra step, you could also look at YouTube and look at other creators who have their own opinions about certain characters, or you could look at character build guides. There's a whole bunch of things that you could do before you decide to choose for reruns. And just to quickly recap, you are going to have to review your entire account and decide for yourself if characters are worth playing. Also, don't forget that you can actually test these characters out that are getting reruns, because we have the trial out. And as I mentioned before, you really do want to do this because you don't want to end up in that scenario where you do not like a character's combat and it doesn't really roll right with the current team you are trying to make that character with. Because you can really like everything about a character, but then the way that their combat feels or the way that their kit feels just doesn't really feel right for you per se. So that's why it's important that you try these characters out and make sure that you summon for who you want to summon for, rather than just going solely based off meta and based off videos that say, hey, you should pull this character because this character is great. Like I was mentioning before, that Astro Yao was a very powerful and OP unit. But at the end of the day, if you don't like the way that the Astro Yao combat feels, then don't pick Astro Yao. Well, if you did make it to the end of this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications, join the community Discord, and smash that like button. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.